Let me see over here. We're up to 19b. Yutesomit Bays, at the bottom of the page. So we're talking about mourning for 7 days and mourning for 30 days. The Gemara is soon going to ask about 7 days, but right now, the Gemara is talking about 30 days. The Gemara says, Shloishim Yoim Minolon. Where do we know, where is the 30-day period? Where is it based on? Where does it come from? Now, 30 days, basically, it's about haircutting, and that's the main thing, that a mourner for 30 days doesn't take a haircut. So the Gemara says, Minola, where does this come from? How do we know this? And Minola, so the Gemara, the Shloishim Yoim, Osur Begiluach. How do we know that 30 days it's prohibited to cut the hair? And the Gemara says, Yoliv Pera Minozir. He learns a Gzer Shava, meaning the same word. It says Pera by a Nozir. And it also says, with regards to mourning, it says Pera. Pera means to let the hair grow or go wild, grow wild.
I would have thought that the 30 days came from when Aaron passed away. They mourned for 30 days.
That's a good point, but that's not the regular mourning. That was specifically for Aaron that the pasuk makes that distinction. Here, we're actually saying that the mourning is 7 days, as we'll see soon. This is like an additional level of mourning. But for Aaron, it looks like it was a full 30 days just for the regular mourning. That was the exceptional case. That's what I think. But it's a good point. Need to look up. But that's probably the reason. But we learn out pera minozir. I mean, if we learned it out, then you would probably, like this, the 30 days are just for haircutting. It's not as severe as the first 7 days. So when the Torah says by mourning that you should let the hair grow, it is the same length as the Torah says about a Nazir. It brings like this. Ksiv Hocha, that was the story when the sons of Aaron, when they went in and they brought the fire that they weren't supposed to. And Hashem told them not to conduct themselves as mourners. So Hashem says to them, Roshechem al tifro. Don't let your hairs grow. So this is an indication that a normal mourner would have the hair grow. They were told exception that they should not let their hair grow because it was the Chanukas HaMizbeach, the Chanukas in the Beis HaMikdash. They were told not to let the hair grow and not to interfere with the simcha that was going on, but normally you would. Roshechem al tifro. The other answer, I was thinking about what you asked me, over there, it's not sort of a command. The Torah says they cried for him for 30 days. Maybe that was just that they did. But here it's more like a command because the Torah says don't cut the hair. So that means that it would be a prohibition against cutting the hair. But anyway, so what's the Gzeir Shava? So over here it says al tifro. Fro means don't let your hair grow. Don't let your hair grow. So what do we learn from this? That was a specific command for them. He's told them, Roshechem al tifro. Your heads, don't let them grow wild. But hoshar avelim, but other mourners, chayovim mashma. It's understood that the other ones are obligated. They're not obligated, but other people are. Okay, so fine, but how long? It just says to grow. How long does growing hair mean? So we have a Gzera Shava, Ksiv Hosam. There's another verse that says, Gadil Pera Sar Reishe. His uh, talks about a Nazir who lets his hair grow. He says he should let his hair grow wild, the hair of his head. So how long is a Nazir for? A Nazir for is 30 days. Malahalon. So what does it mean by a Nazir to let your hair grow wild? It means shloishim. It means for 30 days. Afkan shloishim. So here too, 30 days. That means when we say wild. Frag the Gemara. How do you know that it means there 30 days? V'hosa minolan. But how do you know by a Nazir that it's 30 days? You're learning out Avelis that Pera means 30 days from Nazir. Who says by Nazir is 30 days? V'hosa minolan. How do we know that? Omar Rav Masna, says Rav Masna. Stam Naziris Shloshim Yom. A person says, I'm going to be a Nazir without specifying time, it becomes a Nazir for 30 days. My time, what's the reason why 30 days? Because Omar Pro Koro, the Pasuk says Kodesh Yiyah. He should be Kodesh. The word Yiyah is the Gematria 30. Yud, then Yud is 10, and then the Hey is 5, another Yud, and another Hey. So together it's 30. That's why we learn that Yud Yiyah begematria tlosin hava. Yiyah is the numerical value, of 13, of 30. And that's why we're saying that there is the 30 days. So before we had a opinion, what happens if you conduct yourself morning part of the day was whether uh, it counts for the full day. I mean, that's actually what we do today. Like on the seventh day of Shiva, you don't wait for the whole day. You say Mixas Hayoim Kikulei. That was the opinion of Abba Shaul. You do part of the day is like the whole day. But that's only if you did a little bit. Let's see what the Rav Huna Bereid Rabbi Yeshua says. Oh, Rav Huna Bereid Rabbi Yeshua. So Rav Huna Bereid Rabbi Yeshua says, Hakol Moedim. Everybody agrees. Who's everybody agrees? Because some opinions is that Mikzas Hayoim is not Kikula. You need to have full days of mourning. And Abba Shaul says, no, that part of the day is like the whole day. So he's saying, Hakol Moedim means, Afila Abba Shaul. This is even Abba Shaul, the Omar, who says, Mikzas Hayoim Kikuloi. That part of the day is like the whole day. So technically, you do part of the day, it should be the whole day. But kishachal shlishi shaloi liyes erev haregel. If your third day is the eve of the Yom Tov, so you're going to be stopping the Avelis for Yom Tov, then we're not going to give you that whole day and say, well, it's Erev Yom Tov. Sha'osur b'rechitza ad ha'erev. You're going to be prohibited to bathe until the evening, even though the Avelis is going to stop when it comes to Yom Tov, but you can't stop in the morning. The prohibition of bathing will be always to the evening. Also, berechitza ado erev, zokt Rashi, the vadai sholish shleimim ba'inon, because for sure, we need 3 full days. You can't stop before 2 days, Binon. That's according to this opinion. But us, it doesn't go by that. It's Mavatal anyways. But we need 3 whole days. Ado Erev. So what do you do? But if it's already Yom Tov, You won't be able to bathe. So Rashi says, "Ule'erev reiches b'tzeinan." In the evening, you bathe with cold water. I mean, cold water should be okay. Still, you can't bathe because you're still in morning till the nighttime. Or yamtinat chil shel moed v'yirchas b'chamin. Or wait until chol hamoed, and then you can bathe in warm water. So you have to make a decision. But the morning, you still have to wait 3 full days. That was what Rav Huna Bereder Rav Yeshua said. Oh, Rav Nechemya Bereder Rav Yeshua. So Rav Nechemya, the son of Rav Yeshua, said, Ashkachtinhu lerav Papi ulerav Papa. I found that Rav Papi and Rav Papa, the Yasvi V'ka Amri, they were sitting and saying, Halacha ki Rav Huna Bereder Rav Yeshua. Halacha is like Rav Huna Bereder Rav Yeshua, that you need at least 3 days of mourning in order. No, we're not going to say that you're mevatel the day when uh, the morning starts. You have to wait for 3 full days. Ikadamri. Other people say that it was Omar Rab Nechemya Bereid Rav Yosef, not the son of Rabbi Yeshua, but the son of Rabbi Yosef. Same thing, basically. He says Ashkachtinu lirav Papi ulirav Papa, and also Rav Huna Bereid Rabbi Yeshua. The Yasif Amri, they were sitting and saying, Hakol Moedim, that everybody is in agreement. Shimchal Shlishi Shaloi Lias Arav Regel. If the third day is on the eve of the Yontif, Sha'osur B'Rechitza Ada Erev, it's going to be prohibited with bathing until the evening. We're not going to say Mixas Ayom Kikuloi in this situation. Okay, this is basically confirming the halacha that the Gemara brought down, that if the third day, you have to have at least 3 days, and we're not going to say mikzah sayem kikul. Okay. The Gemara goes on weiter to discuss the various scenarios. Boy minei Abaya merabba. So Abaya asks from Rabba, Kovroi boregel. If the burial took place on the Yom Tov itself, it's not, you didn't start Avelis before Yom Tov. You started on Yom Tov. Now, does the regel oila loy leminyan shloishim? Does the days of the Yom Tov count for shloishim? Or ein regel oila loy leminyan shloishim? Or the days of the Yom Tov do not count for shloishim? The issue over here is about shloishim. The Shiva, the Gemara says, Leminyan Shiva loy kaboili. I'm not asking about Shiva. It's not a question. I don't have a question about Shiva. Shiva, for sure, he'll have to start after Yontif. But Shloishim, I'm not sure why. So Rashi explains. Leminyan Shiva loy kaboili. I have no question about Shiva that you're going to have to do it after Yontif. As the Gemara says immediately, Leinoga mitzvah Shiva beregel, because the mitzvah of Shiva that you do on Shiva does not take place on the Yontif. So you can't count you can't count Yontif for Shiva. Dr. Rashi, why? Leminya Shiva loikom aboili. The Vadei Eine Oila, for sure, Yom Tov cannot be counted as a day of Shiva. Why? The Vadei Leinoga Mitzvahs Shiva Beregel. He for sure did not conduct the Mitzvah Shiva during Yom Tov. Because on Yontav, he's not prohibited to wearing his shoes. Ve'ena noye kfiyas samita, we don't have bending over of the bed. So he's not doing anything for Shiva during Yontav. So how would Yontav count for Shiva? It doesn't count. He says, not a question, because you're not doing anything that would be resembling the mornings that you're supposed to do in Shiva. You're not doing it during Yontav. But he says, Ki komi boyili. When is my question? My question is Leminyan Shloishim, about the number of Shloishim. Why? Why Shloishim? Because he's actually the Konoga Mitzvah Shloishim Beregel. Because he is actually doing the mitzvah of Shloishim Beregel. What's the mitzvah of Shloishim? The Beregel Nami Osur Begihutz Ubitis Peiris Kishloishim, because on the Yom Tov it's also prohibited to iron and to take haircuts, just like in the Shloishim. So, in essence, just by keeping Yom Tov, you're actually keeping Shloshim. So, why shouldn't the days that you kept Shloshim during the Yom Tov count for the Shloshim days? He doesn't know. My. So, what's the din? Do they count or not? Amarlei. So, Rabbi answered, this was Abaya asked Rabbi, so Rabbi answers him, Eine Eile does not count. You don't count the Shloshim, the observance of the Yom Tov. So he asked him a question from a Braisa. Isivi. He asked him a question. It says, Hakoiver es meisoi. So basically the ruling over here is that he said it doesn't count. Yom Tov doesn't count for the Shloshim, even though he's not ironing, even though he's not cutting his hair, but it doesn't count. So he said, I'll ask you a question from a Braisa. The Braisa says, HaKoiver esmeisoi shnei yomim koidem haregel. If he buries the person, the body, he buries him 2 days before Yom Tov. So basically, he sat Shiva 2 days out of the 7 days. So then after Yom Tov, Moina Chamisha, Yom Machar Regel, when Yom Tov is over, you have to count 5 days. So you have a full Shiva. Umalachtoi, and the work that he needs to do, Nasis al Acherim. He himself cannot do any of the work, but others can do for him. That's during the Yom Tov. And his servants and his maids they can do in a quiet way within his house. And then after Yom Tov, they don't need to do the comforting of the mourners. Rashi ve'ein Rabbi misaski mimay kloimar ein tzrichim lenachamoy achar haregel. They are not required to do comforting the mourners nicham avelim after Yom Tov. Shekvar nichamu shiva yomim beregel. They already comforted him 7 days during the festival. So uh, the days of mourning, he has to make up after that because he didn't practice it on the Yom Tov. But comforting the mourners, they don't need to do later on because that's done throughout the Yom Tov. They do it to comfort the mourners. Turn the page to
What if it's a Shavuos?
what?
What if it's Shavuot? Then you don't have then it would only be 1 day.
So what's the question?
You wouldn't have you said that they don't have to do because they've already comforted him during Yontif. But if the Yontif was only 1 day, then they.
Okay, but here we're talking about when there's a few days there. Um,
Oh, I guess we're
then
talking
they'll
about
have to
Moed
do it.
Katan.
But we're talking about all the days that they're available.
Right, we're Moed Katan. I forgot. Sorry. So there is no
Okay.
Moed Katan in Shavuos. Sorry.
And the reason why they won't have to pay attention to him is Shekvar Nis'asku Boy Beregel. They dealt with him during the Yom Tov, so there's no need to be Menachem Ovel after the Yom Tov. So the Brisa says Kloli Shel Dover. So what's the rule of this matter? Kol Shahu Mishum Ovel. If things are mourners, in other words, the conduct of mourners, so Haregel Mafseka, the regel interrupts it, so you have to continue after the Yom Tov. Because since you don't do the mourning during Yom Tov, so therefore you're going to have to make up. If you had 2 days before, you'll have to have 5 days later. But if it's comforting, you don't have to do it after Yom Tov because that can be done on Yom Tov itself. Kol shehu mishum aval regel mafsika zokt Rashi. Shetzorich lahashlimoy achar haregel. You have to finish it after the Yom Tov. Why kivon dichiyoshav? Since when he said Shnei Yom Lifnei Haregel, uh, when he said 2 days for the Yom Tov, Tzorich Lahashlim V'Leishev Chamisha Yom Achar Haregel. He has to sit and make up and sit 5 days after the Yom Tov. That means the regel interrupts it, and you got to make up later. But the Kol Shehu Mishum Iski Rabim, whatever it has to do with the many coming to comfort you, Ein regel mafsika over there. The holiday, the Yom Tov, does not interrupt that. And he's Yotze. Whatever they did in Yom Tov, they did the. You said Shavuos, you'd have 1 day or whatever the days are there. Yeah, if you're having Sukkot and Pesach, he has the whole 7 days. But it's still not going to be. That's going to be for that. Yeah. Kol shum mishum iski rabim zokt Rashi. It's the comforting of the many, of the public. Ein regel mafsikoi. The Yom Tov doesn't interrupt the Gedei sheyei tzorich lahashlim v'la'asik boy achar haregel, so that he has to make up and to do it after Yom Tov. Elamis askin by beregel, but rather they deal with him on the Yom Tov, meaning they're comforting the mourners takes place on the Yom Tov, so there's no more comforting of the mourners after Yom Tov. But the laws of Shiva he has to do after Yom Tov because they haven't been done on Yom Tov. Further, it says, what happens if he buries him the last 3 days of the Yom Tov? So, Moine Shiva Achar Regel, and of course here we're not talking about Shavuos, but so if he buries him 3 days in the end of the Yom Tov, Moine Shiva Achar Regel, then he has to count 7 days after the Yom Tov. Why? Because again, there's no Shiva during the laws of Shiva during the Yom Tov. However, people had 3 days a chance people had 3 days a chance to come and comfort him in the end of the Yom Tov. So they only need 4 days after Yom Tov. That's why the Mishnah, the Brisa says, the first 4 days, Rabbi Misaskim boy. The first 4 days of the 7 days after Yom Tov, Shal Achar Haregel, of that followed the Yom Tov, Rabbi Misaskin boy, that the many come to comfort him, Umashlimim Lishloisha, Shenis Asku Beregel, and then they make up, complete the 3 that they came to comfort during the Yom Tov, Shekvar Nisasku by Beregel Shloisha Yomim, because they already comfort him during the holiday for 3 days, so they have to make up only 4 days. Shloisha Yomim Ha'achreinim, but the last 3 days of the Shiva, and Rabbi Misaskin by then the nobody has to come comfort him anymore because they had already 7 days for comforting. 3 days of the Yom Tov and 4 days, the first days of the Shiva days. Shekvar Nisaskol Beregel, because they've already occupied in the Yom Tov. This is all one long brises. Finally, it says, Regel Oilaloi. Uh, uh, the Yom Tov counts for him. What does it count for? We just said now that the regular Yonat doesn't count for Shiva. So he says that the regel counts, Rashi says, V'regel oila leminyan shloishim. That counts for the number 30, for the 30 days. Shiva, no. But the day counts for shloishim. So what do we see? That if they had a question before, do the days of Yom Tov count for Shloshim? And the Gemara had a doubt, but it was ruled before by the different Ameroim that Regel does not count. But here in the Braise it says Regel Oileloi does count. It has to mean that it counts for the Shloshim. Shiva doesn't count. We said the whole time, but it counts for Shloshim. So you see that it does count for Shloshim. So if the Gemara is assuming we're talking about that he was buried on Yom Tov, and the Mishnah says the regal counts for Shloshim. So the Gemara, my lava seifa, is then not this last sentence, the regal loy, that Shloshim you counted, go on the last part of the Brisa. Ho de toni the regal oile leminyan Shloshim. This that we learned that the Yom Tov counts for 30. Hainu as seifa. This goes on the seifa, the second part. A kovrei beregel. It goes that when they buried him on the Yom Tov, so you say v'tivshet minei dechi kovrei beregel oile leminyan shloishim. So therefore you can resolve from here that if you bury him on the Yom Tov, it counts for shloishim. But it's a question on the Rava that says it's not counted for him. I think the Gemara before said it was Rabbi. In the question of the Gemara, I think the Gemara said it was Rabbi. That's what I remember. The Gemara said, Boim Nabai Rabbi. No, Rabbi Omar Halach Kapashol. No, it's not a Rabbi over there. So the Gemara says Loi Aresha. This that we're saying that the regal counts for 30 days goes on the first part of the Braisa. Aresha Komahader is going back to the Resha. Akovre Shnei Yomim Koidem Haregel. When he buried him 2 days before the Yom Tov, Regel Oile Loi Leminyan Shloishim. Then the Yom Tov counts for the number 30 that he needs. The Hosam Vadai Oileloi, in that case, for sure, the days count for him. Hoyilu Kvar Hischil Ba'avelus. He already started Avelus. The question was if he dies on Yontif, can Yontif serve as the days of Shloshim? And the answer is we don't know, because perhaps when the Mishnah is saying that you can use the regal for the Shloshim, is in a case where he already buried him 2 days before and he started already Shloshim. But he started mourning. I will cover it, but we don't know from there what would be the halacha when he buries him on the Yom Tov. Does the Yom Tov count as the Shloshim? So he has another question, another brisa, and in this brisa it's actually very clear. More than here, it says regel oile loile minyan shloshim. It says it does count. The regel, this Bryce says the regel counts for shloshim. Ketzad, and they demonstrate how so. Kovre b'tchilas haregel. If he buries him in the beginning of the Yom Tov, moine shiva achar haregel, then he counts 7 after Yom Tov. Uh, and Rashi said b'tchilas haregel, which is b'yoim rishon shel regel. He has to count 7 days after the regel. Uh, and Rashi Kasha Lerova. We'll see, because what happens in the Yom Tov itself, Malachti Nasis al Deachedim, other people do his work, and I'll call you back in a bit, in the middle of a class, okay?
See you later.
Malachti Nasis al Deachedim, and meantime in the Yom Tov the work is done through others. And his servants and maidservants they can do in a quiet way within his home. Ve'ein rabim misaskin boy. But after Yom Tov, they don't have to confidential beregel. They already comfort him during the Yom Tov shekvar nisasku beregel kol shiva, because he died the first day of Yom Tov. Beregel oilaloi. And the Yom Tov counts for what again? For Shloshim. So you see that even when the burial was on Yom Tov, as it says clearly here, we're still going to count that day as part of the Shloshim. So that resolves the question that Rava said. Rava asked that we do count the days. It says we count it. I'm not sure why the Brisa starts off with Regel Oilele Minyan Shloshim. That's what it starts, right? And then it says again, V'regel Oilele. I don't know. I'm not sure why it says it 2 times. But in any event, the Gemara says to Yufta, that's a strong, challenging question, because here we see that it actually does count for the Shloshim. Ki also Rovin Omar Rabbi Yochanan, he said that simple in name of Rabbi Yochanan, afilu kavre beregel, even if on the Yontav or before the Yontav, saying afilu kavre regel oile leminyan shloshim, the regel counts for 30 days. For sure, when you buried him before the Yontav, the Yontav itself counts for the days. Rabbi Elazar taught it, ruled it for his son Rapidos, even if you bury him. So it comes out that if you bury in the Yontav, the Shloshim you make up with the days of the Yontav, because the observance of Shloshim takes place on the on Yontav, because you don't take haircuts, you don't iron, so that you're doing it, so that's why it counts. So the days that you had Shloshim would take the place, and you would not need to do those days after Yom Tov.
It's interesting that none of this includes. Usually, they bring a pasuk or a proof or an explanation, but there's nothing.
You mean how do we know this? This is just like a svara here. Whether the yeah. This is not it's not a halacha from the Torah. I guess this is a chachamim they're instituted. They're trying to figure out where did the chachamim aser it by Avelus. I don't know if there is a pasuk for this particular issues. All right, let's go nacha pisuk Gemara. Tana Rabbana. We learned in Abraisa. Kiyem kfiyas hamita shloisha yamim koidem haregel. If he observed the bending of the bed, that's one of the things that we do a mourner in Shiva. We sit in a low stool. In the olden days, they had beds. That's what they would sit on. And they turned it sideways, bend over the bed. Shlosh Yom Kodim Regel. He observed Shiva 3 days before Yom Tov. Eino tzarich l'chapoisa achar regel. Then there's no need for him to end it after the Yom Tov. Divrei Rabbi Elazar. That's the word of Rabbi Elazar. So he needed 3 days. The Chachamim say no. Meaning there's no Shiva if you did it for 3 days. Rabbi Elazar needs 3 days. Even if one day, even 1 hour. If it's observed Shiva even for 1 hour before Yontif, you don't have to do it after Yontif. Amar Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon. So Reb Shimon said, Hein divrei Beshamai, Hein divrei Besilil. These two opinions over here between Rabbi Elazar and Chachamim is Beshamai Besilil. Rabbi Elazar was a student of Beshamai. He goes like Beshamai. And the Chachamim, that's the words of Besil. Shebeshamai Emrim Shloisha Yomim. Beshamai say 3 days. Besilil Emrim Afilu Yom Echad. Even 1 day, which is the halacha, if you observed Shiva even for 1 day or even 1 while, you don't have to sit Shiva anymore. So this is Rav Huna said in the name of Rav Chi bar Abba named Rabbi Yochanan. Amar lo Amar Luhu Rabbi Yochanan. Rav Chi bar Abba Rav Huna. Different. Who said it? Afilu Yom Echad. Afilu Shah Achas. Even 1 while. Not only 1 day, but even 1 while. Rava Amar. Rava says, no. Halacha Kitana Didan the Amar Shloisha. Like our Tan of the Brisa, that says you need 3 days. Gemara says Ravina Iklo Lisura de Pros. He came across a surah of Pros. Amale Rav Chaviva le Ravina. So Rav Chaviva says to Ravina, he met up with Ravina when he came there. Hilchasamai, what's the halacha? Amar lei, he ruled to him, afilu yom echad, afilu shah achas. He rules, even 1 day, even 1 while before Yontiv, you don't have to do anymore. Says the Gemara, Yosef, Rab Chia, Bar Abba, Rab Ami, Rab Yitzchok Nafcha. So Rab Chia, Bar Abba, and Rab Ami, Rab Yitzchok Nafcha were sitting Akilo, the Rab Yitzchok ben Elazar. That's the entrance of the place where Rab Yitzchok ben Elazar was. No fakmil sabinayu, so they were discussing amongst themselves. Menayin la avelus shiva. Where do we know avelus for shiva? Before we talked about shloishim, that letting your hair grow shloishim. But where is the shiva from? The ksiv, because it says. The Gemara asks a similar question like you asked before, Roy. The pasuk says, "I will turn your festival into mourning." So your festival, how much is a festival for 7 days? The festival of 7 days will be turned to mourning. That means that mourning needs to be for 7 days. Machag Shiva, just like the festival is 7. Avavelis Shiva, the Avelis has to be 7. Wait a minute, but we have other Yomim Tovim that just 1 day. Maybe just have mourning and 1 day, because Shavuos is only 1 day. And the Gemara says, Hahu miboyile likadrei shlokish. That we need like Reish Lakish. The Omar Reish Lakish, Mishum Rabbi Yehuda Nisiya. He says, Minayin l'shmur rechayka she'eina neheges ela yom echad. How do we know? In other words, the pasuk says Chageichem, so it's talking about several yontivs. So it could mean a yontiv of 7 days and a yontiv of 1 day. So the yontiv of one day has already been used for a shmur rechaika. A shmur rechaika means, let's say you get the news of somebody died that you have to mourn for, but it was more than 30 days after the passing. So a shmur rechaika she'enu neheges aliyeh mechad. You don't have to sit shiva, but you only deal one day. So the ksiva fachti chagechem la'ovil. So I'll take your festival and turn it into mourning. Va'ashkechanat says the ikra chad yaima chag, and we find by Atzeres that one day is called a chag. So we can say when it says va'fachti chagechem is for one day. That is for the Shmuar Rechoika, and therefore the rest is not one day, but it's Chagechem. It is for 7 days. Again, I'm not exactly sure. I think that we're learning it out because Chagechem is plural to imply that there is various Yomim Tovim. So I guess there's one Yom Tov of one day, and there's other Yom Tovs are 7 days. But if we didn't use it for that, then maybe it would just mean one day. But now that we're using it for a Shmur Rechaika, that you do one day, we're already using Shmur. So what's the other Yom Tovim? So we have to say that's the 7 days. Tana Rabbana. So we learned in the Braise that Shmua Kroiva Noiheges Shiva Ushleishim. That is something you get the news about the passing, then you have to do 7 and 30. Shmur Rechaika. But what happens if you have you get the news later on? You only do it for one day. What's
I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. So if you're hearing it from far away, it wasn't
meaning
like
after 30 days, it's going to say you heard it when you're far away, means that took 30 days till it got to you.
okay.
The Gemara is going to say, the Gemara is going to translate. The Gemara says, what means a close, what means far? The Gemara says, Kroiva b'toich shloshim. Kroiva is within 30 days. Then is so any time that you hear about it within 30 days, you'll have to sit Shiva and you'll have to start doing shloshim. But Rechaika is la'achar shloshim. That's after 30 days. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. The Chachamim disagree. They say achas shmua kreva, ba'achar shmua rechaika, that whether it's within 30 days or after 30 days, naheges shivim or shloisha, you have always 7, and the 30 days will start even by a shmua rechaika, even after 30 days. So the Gemara says, Amar Rabba Bar Chana Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan. Kol mokim shata moitzu yochid mekel. Wherever you find one is lenient, the Rabbi machmirim, and the many are stringent. Who do we go by? Halacha kerabim. We usually go by the rabbim. Chutz mizu, this exception, this case. Sha'afal pisha Rabbi Akiva mekel v'chachamim machmirim. Even though Rabbi Akiva is lenient, the Chachamim are machmir. Halacha ki Rabbi Akiva. Still, the lachas like Rabbi Akiva, that by a shmur rechaika we're not going to do 7 and 30. We're going to do just one day. The Amar Shmuel, halacha ki Rabbi Makil ba'ovel. The halacha is like the one who's lenient. Okay, I'm going to leave it over here today, and we'll mamshich and Mitzvah next week over there. My throat is not working so well. We'll be mamshich.
Thank you very much, Rabbi.
Okay. Catch up with you.
Have a good week.
Mitzvah. Thank you.
Okay.
You too.